Welcome to the Data channel where we discuss software optimization strategies. We create a 3-video series on the why you should optimize. That was the previous video from last week. What is it that you could optimize in your Microsoft agreement we will discuss today. And in the third video next week we will discuss how to implement those optimizations in your Microsoft agreement. So what is it that you could optimize in your Microsoft agreement? So let's focus on the 8, maybe 9 different strategies that we see most out of there. So first of all, there are different strategies on a high level where you could focus on. It could be a commercial optimization. That could be that you're in an enterprise agreement, but that a CSP and or an MPSA, a different contract type, will give you a better price outcome. It could be that you're a global organization and that you could find a better pricing in another region. It could be, so that's all related to the commercial optimization of your contract. But that you could also look there at amendments that could commercially benefit for you. The second main topic is the optimization and the different product stacks. So we see still that a lot of organizations are having M365 E5, for example. Quite logic maybe from a commercial perspective because you receive there the highest discount. But we still see that only 2 to 5% of the organizations are fully utilizing that M365 E5 suite. And that's quite logic because there is a lot of technology in the M365 E5. And so most organizations bought it for the security stack. While we see more and more that organizations are adopting third-party security like CrowdStrike or Tenable or other vendors in the security area. So also there we see maybe a change, and you could question yourself, is the M365 E5 still giving me the right value for my money? On the other hand, next to the security products, you have phone system. Still, and especially in the EMEA region, phone system is not rolled out heavily with a lot of organizations due to the simple fact that calling is not that expensive in EMEA. It is in the US, and therefore we see more adoption over there. And the third one, the product is what is not used that many, is the Power BI suite. Because not all users in your organizations are having a need for Power BI. And if they have a need for Power BI, then there is a better, more powerful option with the Power BI Premium SKU and product, where you don't have to license every individual for Power BI. And so these are the reasons to optimize and focus on the M365 E5. The E3 or even the F plans are more flexible than you think, and you can build up standalone additional products. For example, if you M365 E3 is your base and you want to add 1 or 2 security features, you're more cost effective by doing those standalone or using the security and compliance SKU. Another topic what we see a lot is that we still see that the Microsoft 365 F plan is quite underrated. There is more value in that bundle than you think, and a lot of organizations are really tying that only to a frontline worker, while Microsoft is stating in their product terms different rules what you could apply for different users. So yes, there is a screen limitation of 10.9 inch. That's a given fact, but if you use a tablet, for example, you're more than good to go with those F plans. And if you compare that with the E5, you will save €600 per user per year on a license. So if you have 10,000 users who could be eligible for the F plan, you will save €600,000 or dollars on that SKU. And even if you go to a 10,000 user, you will save 6 million annually on changing your SKU. So this is the option and the opportunity out there. On Azure and Windows Server and SQL, there's still a lot to optimize. So I think most organizations are quite aware of the bring your own license, reserved instances, dev test, and saving plans, which Microsoft is really pushing today in the negotiations. But we still don't see really the adoption for it. And that's also a lot to do, of course, with FinOps. A lot of organizations are investigating or starting up their FinOps practice, but yeah, find it quite hard and tough to implement all the different strategies, because once more, yeah, it is quite challenging. Licensing is complex, so before you get to know how and what to adopt and which reserved instance plan for a year or 3 years to choose, and what the terms and conditions are, we see that organizations are struggling with that as well. From the Windows Server extended security update, for example, and also Microsoft there changed last year his strategy to introducing Azure Arc, a different licensing model. So before you needed to copy and paste your Windows Server licensing edition, and that could be quite expensive if you had only one virtual machine, a 2008 virtual machine in a data center, and then you needed to copy that Windows Server data center license. That was a very expensive model to license your that specific one VM of 2008. And now when you connect your on-premise infrastructure with Azure Arc, you could license only that specific virtual machine. For SQL, still a lot of organizations don't bring their license into Azure. You could, of course, buy the license directly into Azure, which has a higher price than your enterprise agreement, your negotiated price for your SQL licenses. So bring that in to Azure. From an infrastructure as a service standpoint of view, it's a 101. So at the number of cores you're using in the virtual on that specific virtual machine, you need a license with your SQL core licenses. But if you use software as a service SQL Enterprise, then you license 2 cores, but you will receive 4 cores in return. Yeah, so that's a saving on 2 ways. From a governance health check perspective, this is topic 4 that we see quite a lot still in organizations. That has everything to do with unused licenses, unused apps. We just briefly discussed the ME5, so we see some unused applications from the E5 bundle, but we also see disabled licenses or an overlap of licenses where users have an E3 or E5 suite, and next to that also have an Exchange Online Plan 2 standalone product, for example. Or we see that an E5 license is attached to a meeting room or to an admin or to a shared account, while there are more cost-effective ways to license those scenarios. The 5th one is at anniversary. So in the on-prem world, when you close a Microsoft agreement for a term of 3 years, you will really stick to that and tied to the quantity you stepped in for, and against the commitment you received a discount and then better pricing. With the cloud world, you're way more flexible on an annual term. So you could scale up, but you could also scale down at anniversary. And we see that a lot of organizations are not really utilizing that mechanism in the enterprise or enterprise subscription agreements. From a reservation point of view, if we talk about reservations, there's also here a little bit more creativity. So a lot of organizations are putting 10 or 50 licenses on the shelf for the new hires who came in, that they're really flexible, scalable, and fast to market when they need to enable and set up a new user. We advise to use reservations for that, so reserve in small batches, because you could also cancel those reservations. So take a batches of 5 or 10, depending on the size of your organization. And when you only used 1 out of the 5 batches, you could cancel the other 4, and you save there another 40 or 50 licenses. Then more and more we see that products are added during the contract term. This is, I have everything to do with cloud technology, but also with the speed that Microsoft will bring new technology to his stack. And a lot of the times we don't see any discount on those products. Also, you could it's a bit tougher because the volume what you negotiate is smaller, but yeah, negotiate also midterm with Microsoft if you, for example, enable Copilot for your whole organization or adopting Power Apps, Power Automate. It's definitely a possibility. Dynamics, a bit the same as the F-type license. Also here we see that the Dynamics for Teams is very underrated. Well, that's the only bundle that is cross-platform, right? So since the latest change Microsoft did with his Dynamics licenses, you're now licensing an individual app, and only with the Teams you have the cross over for all the different apps. And it's not only a few only, you could also edit certain fields. The only thing what you can't do is create. So therefore it's, and a lot of organizations think it's only a few licenses. No, you could fill in and edit data. So here's a potential to optimize your Dynamics stack there. And from a negotiation point of view, here Microsoft has a really tough compete with Salesforce. So also if we look to the benchmarking here, we see higher discounts compared to the E3 or E5 plans out there. Power Platform, a product that's heavily adopted with a lot of organizations today as well. So for Power Apps and Power Automate. And we see that organizations are not really analyzing their usage of that specific product. Microsoft made a special portal for that where you are able to track who's using it and which users, and if they use the free version within Office 365 or within your Dynamics license, or you really have the third-party plugins and have a need for that and need a full license of Power Apps and Power Automate. Also from a data point of view, when adopting Power Apps or Power Automate or Dynamics, they all share this same data platform. Also be careful and zoom into the cost over there before you adopt that technology, that you also in your negotiations take the data first into the negotiation so that you have a good price for your data strategy. But also be aware that there are other options to move your data into an Azure environment, for example. So it's good to analyze that, what for you the best situation is. From a commercial and amendment point of view, also here we started that is the third big bucket. There are a lot of amendments or exceptions depending on your organization. So for example, in the beginning of the cloud, it was very hard for manufacturers or who work 24/7 in shifts to adopt cloud technology, since cloud was a per definition per user based license. And then instead of having that per device license, they now needed 10 or 15 user licenses for the same technology. That was quite expensive. Now there are other alternatives for that, to license your Office 365 per device. If the business case is right, Microsoft is willing to give an amendment and exception for that. And so there are many more different exceptions and amendments when it fits your business. It's always good to show and present your business case towards Microsoft, and they're more than willing to listen and see what your commercial opportunity could be there. Thank you for watching. I hope you have learned something out of this session and gained some knowledge from it. If you have any questions, leave a comment below or get in contact with the 2Data team or myself. We are more than happy to support you in what it is we could optimize for your Microsoft agreement. Bye-bye.